Hi everybody! We're here today with our March wrap-up, where each of us will be sharing a few of our favorite books that we read during the month. So without further ado, let's get into it! So the first book that I want to talk about is Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. This is a dystopian story that takes place in the future, where girls have become bred and genetically engineered to be flawless. They grow up in a school where their beauty and their weight is constantly monitored, and all of the girls are in intense competition with each other. When the girls turn 16, they're then sorted into 3 different kind of professions that will last the rest of their lives. The first group are called companions, where the girls will be married off and their sole purpose in life will be to breed as many sons as they can. The second group are called concubines, and these are girls that will live in a group together and their only purpose in life is to please men. And the third group are called chastities, and these are girls who are not fit to be companions or concubines, and they are sent back into the school to train other girls. So this story was incredibly disturbing but addictive. I read it in just one day. It's a really intense look at all of the pressures that society places on women. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who has issues with body image or eating disorders, as it could be very triggering, but if you're okay with reading stuff like this, I think that it's a very interesting book. And if you liked things like The Handmaid's Tale, I'd highly recommend this one.
So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. In this world, diabolics are created to protect humans. And the diabolic in this story is named Nemesis, and she is created to protect Sidonia, the daughter of the Galactic Senator. For their entire lives, diabolics are taught that they are not human and they have no humanity. The only thing that they are to do is to protect the humans they were made for. When Sidonia is summoned to the Galactic Court as a hostage, her family decides to send Nemesis in her place to impersonate her. Once at court, a rebellion starts and Nemesis discovers that she might not completely lack humanity after all. I picked this book up on a bit of a whim and I really liked it. I liked it so much, in fact, that I read it in one sitting. It's incredibly fast-paced, the characters are really intriguing, and you just want to find out who's telling the truth and who's lying.
My first book is Superstar by Mandy Davis. Superstar is told through the eyes of 5th grader Lester Musselbaum. Lester is starting 5th grade at public school because his mom gets her dream job. But this means that for the first time ever, Lester has to deal with loud cafeterias and teachers who don't stick to the schedule that he likes, and kids who really don't understand Lester. It's a really tough change from homeschooling for him, but when he finds out that there is a prize for the school science fair, things start to turn around for him. Lester, as it turns out, has Asperger's, and I really loved how Mandy Davis wrote from his perspective. I also really loved his mom, who is just endlessly patient and protective and really listens to Lester. This book comes out on June 20th.
So another book I read this month and absolutely adored was A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. So this is the third and final book in the Shades of Magic series. So I won't talk too much about the plot because I don't want to spoil anybody, but if you haven't heard of this before, the first book is called A Darker Shade of Magic. It takes place in a world where there's 4 different parallel versions of London. Our main character, Kel, lives in Red London, which is a version of London that is thriving and beautiful and just full of magic. It flows through their city. And then there's 3 other Londons. There's White London, which has magic, but it's kind of cold and violent, and the people who have magic use it to their advantage. They're very power hungry. Then there's Grey London, which is a lot like the London that we know, which doesn't have any magic. And then there's Black London, which used to have magic, but it burned out and died a long time ago. So in the first book, Kel is a special type of magician who can travel between the different Londons. He works as a messenger for the royal family, where he basically delivers correspondence between the royals from each different London. On the side, he also operates as a smuggler, where he'll take items from the different Londons and sell them. And the first book really takes off while Kel is on a smuggling trip, he's accidentally pickpocketed by a thief named Delilah Bard, who steals a magical artifact. I just find this to be a almost completely flawless series. A Darker Shade of Magic was the very first book we ever sent out in an OwlCrate, and it was kind of almost my gateway drug into fantasy books. I didn't think I liked fantasy before I read it, and it just opened my eyes to what fantasy could be for me. This book, the third book, is just such a perfect conclusion. It's filled with so much adventure, the perfect amount of romance. The characters go through so many perilous moments, and it's just wrapped everything up perfectly, and I just can't recommend this series enough.
The next book I read was The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon. This is a long-awaited third book in this series, so I can't tell you too much about what it's about, but I can give you a basic premise. So the first book, The Bone Season, has been getting quite a bit of hype on BookTube lately, and it's totally deserved. The Bone Season takes place in the year 2059 in London, where there are now clairvoyants, but being a clairvoyant is highly illegal. If discovered, clairvoyants are taken into custody and sent to Oxford, which is essentially a prison for clairvoyants. I read The Bone Season years ago and absolutely fell in love with this world. It's very complex, but our main character, Paige Mahoney, is just so endearing and you really want to root for her. I will say it's going to be an agonizing wait for the fourth book, which I'm sure is not going to come out anytime soon.
Next up, we've got Delilah Dirk and the Turkish Lieutenant by Toni Cliff. Delilah Dirk is a globe-trotting troublemaker who grew up traveling the world and training with all the best teachers in fighting and swordsmanship and archery. At the opening of this story, Delilah meets a Turkish soldier named Selim and drags him along on her latest adventure to rob a corrupt sultan in Constantinople. Delilah is just a fun, fierce character, and her adventures really fly off the page. This is the first of 2 Delilah Dirk books, and I hear that there's a third in the works. I would recommend this one for anybody 10 and up.
Another book I wanted to mention is Big Mushy Happy Lump by Sarah Anderson. I've been following Sarah's comics online for a very long time, and I finally broke down and just bought one of her books because I saw it at the bookstore and I just felt like reading something that was going to make me happy. So I sat down with this and read it cover to cover. I laughed so many times. If you feel like you're an introvert or shy or deal with social anxiety, the comics in this book are going to be so relatable to you. Not only did I find the comics relatable, I also just felt like it was a sort of celebration of being introverted, which I really appreciated. So if you're looking for something funny that is definitely gonna make you laugh, pick this one up.
And then I read Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. This is Jenny Lawson's second memoir, the first one being Let's Pretend This Never Happened, which I also read and really loved. Furiously Happy is essentially exactly what it sounds like. It is a funny book about horrible things. This is a really funny but very honest book about Jenny's struggles with mental illness that she's had for her entire life. She really explores the stigma behind mental illness and why talking about it publicly is really important. I have never related so much to a book in my entire life, but it also had me crying with laughter. If you have ever struggled with mental illness or know people who do struggle with mental illness, I definitely think you should read this book. So those were some of the books that we enjoyed in March. Let us know some of your favorites in the comments down below.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome.
Bye!